Are we broadcasting yet?
Yeah, in a second.
Yes or no?
Yep, I gotta say, got it. All right, I call the meeting to order. Ally, would you take attendance, please?
Craig Leggett,
Here.
Michael Biddle, Brian Campbell, Mike Wild,
I'm here.
Jenny Sullivan. Here. Mike Brasso. Mike Brasso,
He's on mute. Mike Grasso?
Sam Bruno,
Here.
Mary King,
Here.
Dave O'Brien,
Here. Brian's here. Okay. First order of business is approval of minutes from the September 20th and 2021 IDA board meeting. I need a resolution. Mr. Bruno, do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any omissions or corrections?
One that I'm aware of.
All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next order of business, to review the payables, please. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the accounts payable as listed. Mr. Bruno, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Leggett, I need a roll call on this, please.
Craig Leggett,
Yes.
Brian Campbell, Brian, Mike Wild,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Mike Grasso,
Yes.
Sam Bruno,
Yes.
Mary King,
Yes.
Dave O'Brien,
Yes. Mr. Biddle just stepped in. Okay,
I'm here, Ally.
how do you approve the payables? He's not here.
Brian, do you approve the payables?
Certainly.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, next is pass-through payments. Ally, want to go over those or not?
What's been listed are the payments that we've received so far. We have 2 outside of ICC4 that are late. We've gotten revised bills reflecting their late penalties.
Thank you. We'll skip to go through Biscotti. Mr. Biscotti has got 2 things on the agenda tonight. Excuse me. Riley Silbert's got 2 things on the agenda. He's from Biscotti, Bucks County, Biscotti in Pennsylvania. They are looking to buy a piece of property, lot number 7 in the IDA park, and number 2 to receive application for assistance. You should have received the applications in the mail. Going from there. As usual, we'd like to have Mr. Silbert just give a little overview of the company, what they're looking to accomplish, why they decided beautiful Washington County is a place to be. So Riley, it's up to you.
Thank you so much. As David said, we're Bucks County Biscotti. We are a Biscotti company. We were founded in 1993 by my mom and dad. We've been around for about 28 years now. I joined in about 2 years ago to help grow the business. We have successfully now gone beyond the production capabilities of our current facility. So in the search for potentially developing a new bakery, we had family up in the Lake George area, which led us to discussions with folks in Warren and Washington County, which led us specifically to working with Dave and Michael and discovering this Lot 7, where we're hoping to build a new 5,000 square foot bakery and transfer the business up to New York full time.
And the timeline for that is in the application there. Is that a realistic timeframe?
Yeah, we're well underway through financing and working out all the logistics with, oh, there you go.
I wish I could have made the meeting. Hey, put them on my desk, Dave.
Okay, if we want to do that.
This is what is good for being here live.
That's right.
So these are biscottis. Very tasty. I had one today,
Thanks.
so, but I will have another one. It's pretty good.
They have a very long shelf life, so whenever anybody gets around to the office, you can all try one.
It won't last long.
Good.
Yeah, Craig, we are underway through financing and have locked down engineers and finalizing contractors. So as soon as that's done, we've been in communication with the Kingsbury Town Board and we'll be undergoing sort of all the parallel timelines as closely as we can so that when everything's finalized, which I'm expecting to be in early December, we would be able to immediately sort of head into construction there. There are a few variables right now, such as the timelines for fabrications of the steel for the metal building that we'll be doing, but I've worked to try to add as many barriers as I can so that when we get approvals and everything, that we can just hit the ground running.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Any other questions for Riley? Excited to have someone moving up here from Pennsylvania.
So do we need a resolution to approve the application?
No, we need a resolution to accept the application and set the public hearing. Public hearing, I think Kara said November 1st. Would be good. Is that our,
Well, so the way the resolution is set up is that you can schedule it at a mutually agreeable time between yourself and the company. The earliest date would be, I think, is that the first is a weekend or is that a Monday? I think the first available date, if the notice goes in tomorrow, is like the first. So
the first is a Monday.
your executive committee meeting is the 3rd. Do it at that time.
Okay. So we have a couple choices because we also have another public hearing to set. Is to have it on the 3rd and possibly have a special meeting the same time to approve them after the public hearings.
That's up to the board how you want to handle the approval process. So both of the projects that are in question that would be eligible to be acted on after a hearing. Neither one of those projects have been through the planning board process, so they don't have a seeker determination or review completed yet. So any moving forward would be subject to that. Both projects are in municipalities that require approval of a pilot. So that contingency would also be in any approval resolution.
And Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
both of those that Ms. Elias referred to are normal course of business.
Correct.
We could put those contingencies or normal course of business.
Correct.
So I'm comfortable moving ahead with a public hearing with those contingents on an agreed upon date.
Right, so just to clarify, the public hearing can be held and we can move forward with that, no problem. Because it's usually held during those preliminary stages. If you want to approve the project and approve the financial assistance for each of the projects, that cannot move forward until, we can't like close on these items
Right.
until they make it through the planning board process and have an environmental review completed by the planning board. And each of the towns that these projects are located in will have to approve of the pilot.
Correct. But it does show the area and the town and
Yeah,
that
right.
we're supportive of this.
So the approval resolution would include those contingencies. Once those contingencies have been satisfied, the IDA board would need to come back and approve and adopt the resolution indicating at what point those items have been satisfied, those contingencies. Then you can move forward with the closing.
So we're gonna do a resolution contingent on the planning board and the
The seeker.
seeker and the town board approval in these two cases.
Mhm.
Right, we can't do that till after we have the public hearing. Yeah,
So we could do that, but do we need another resolution after that, after the,
yes.
Mhm.
You would have, after those items were satisfied, you'd have to come back and you'd have to adopt the same seeker determination that the municipalities adopt. And then you'd have to incorporate into your resolution, the approval of the respective towns.
so if there is financing involved in the banks are looking more favorably on acceptance to get their financing through, that would help them.
Sure.
Okay. So it's up to the board which we want to do. We can take set the public hearing for November 3rd at, we could do it at 9 o'clock. Then have our executive meeting right after that, or have a special, and or have a special meeting / executive meeting to approve both resolutions. So that's. Are you making a motion to do that?
I'm making a motion to do that,
Okay.
Chairman.
And do I have a second on that? Second by Dan Bruno. Craig Leggett, Brian Campbell. Any further questions? So we are number one, setting a public hearing for 9 o'clock on November 3rd.
9 a.m.
9 a.m. And then within that resolution, we're also setting, we're setting a special hearing, a special meeting.
Let's just do that
All right.
afterwards.
That's just for the public hearing. Got the public hearing, that motion for the public hearing. All in favor of setting November 1st at 9 o'clock for the public hearing?
November 3rd.
November 3rd.
November 3rd, I'm sorry.
For the public hearing in Kingsbury.
It'd be by Zoom,
Thank you.
okay?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried. I need a second resolution to set a special meeting on November 3rd, if that's the desire of the board. Approve these resolutions for the contingencies that A, they need planning board approval, B, they need town board approval, and their seeker. Did I get that right?
Yeah,
On September 3rd,
no, November,
November 3rd.
immediately after
Immediately
the,
after the public hearing.
well, are you gonna have your executive meeting or are you just gonna make it a special board meeting?
I'll make it a special board meeting and do it all at the same time.
Okay.
And we don't have to worry about timing. Craig? Is that a
I move
motion?
it. I move it.
Do I have a second? Dan Bruno? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Right?
Question. So, figuring that the planning board process is going to take about 2 months, how does that look for the Silberts on timing?
That should be fine. I mean, everything's going to be happening as quickly as possible. So any delays, I'll work to account for that now, understanding that process.
Brian, do you have a question?
No, I'm good, Dave.
Okay. So we have, all in favor?
I think
Aye.
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 Opposed? Done. Thank you, Riley. We're all set until the next meeting.
No, we have another resolution.
Oh, we have another resolution. I'm sorry, I forgot. We also have a resolution on the table to sell lot 7 to Silbert LLC. Did I get it right?
Yes.
The purchase price is $41,000. They're looking to purchase lot number 7. So I'm looking
That is
for a
correct.
motion to,
Move it.
Ryan, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mike Grasso. Any further discussion?
No, that's Silver Holdings,
Silbert Holdings, yes.
LLC.
Any further?
David, it's Mike Wild.
Yes, Mike.
Are there any contingencies tied to the sale, like the approvals that we were just speaking about?
Yeah, their sale is contingent upon them presenting a site plan, them, the board approving that and the planning board approving that and issuing the secret determination. So we wouldn't close on that until that process is completed. Unless you revisit that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There, we got through it, Riley. Have a nice day. Thanks for showing up.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank
You
you.
too. Okay, next item of business, executive director report.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's been a busy month since we last met. Just a few highlights, meeting highlights that I've had. I'll start with the Warren County Chairwoman, Ms. Sieber. Met with Adam Feldman from Habitat for Humanity. Densei Sengsulavong from the Southern Adirondack Realtors Association. Densei and I have discussed the IDA doing a presentation at one of their monthly meetings with their members. I had a meeting with Shelby Schneider, who's the Deputy Director of the New York State EDC. Discussed some legislation in Albany that could affect the IDA, things we're keeping our eye on going into the new year. Had a phone call meeting with Patrick Kelly, who's chairman of the New York State EDC. He's also the CEO of the St. Lawrence IDA. Tomorrow I'll be giving a presentation to the NBT Bank commercial bank lending team in regards to what the IDA could offer, just as part of our reach out. I've continued to reach out to the lawyers and accountants in both counties to try to set up meetings. And finally, I attended the Greenwich Chamber of Commerce breakfast last week. As far as projects, finishing up the Tim Laredo project in Washington County. You've all met Riley today, finishing up the Bucks County Biscotti, getting them into lot 7 of the industrial park. Last week, I met with a couple in Salem about a possible project that they're taking, or they're at their shirt factory. A couple of meetings with companies in the Queensbury area about possible projects. And then finally, Dave and I have had several meetings with potential interested parties at the former dewatering facility. Upcoming, looking forward to participating in the first budget process led by Mr. Biddle and the Audit Finance Committee. And as I had previously mentioned, I'm going to start reaching out to legislators in regards to legislative bills that might possibly affect the IDA when session starts back up in Albany in January. That is my executive director report. I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Greg?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Michael, for that report. You know, with all, as you're getting familiar with the other IDAs and you're talking to the EDS and ESD, how does our IDA look in comparative? Are we in pretty good shape? Our structure, the business we're doing?
Yeah, as far as the structure is in good shape. A lot of the other IDAs are a little bit bigger in size, have a little bit more staff, are probably a little bit more known in their areas, which is all part of the reach out that I'm doing to further down the road get to that position. But in speaking with my IDA counterparts, we are taking all the right steps to eventually get there. Yes.
Thank you.
I think the key piece is to get there. It's, I talked to Fulton County, mentioned Fulton County. Fulton County's got 4 IDA parks and huge development. They got a million square foot facility for Home Depot down there, which I visited a long time ago. But I think the point we're looking at is they've been out there a lot longer than we have, getting known out there. And that's
I'm having a problem with bandwidth.
And that's our challenge, is to get well known out there. And that's what Mike's goals are in the near future, an extended future. So I think it's important to get our message out to people. Any other questions for Michael? Okay. Well, thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Chairman.
Next on our agenda, old business, but new business is ICC 4 non-payment of pilot. Ally?
Well, we did receive the village taxes that Mr. Scala had owed since spring. We got them on the last possible day that he was allotted. However, his school taxes are now late. They were due at the end of September, and we haven't received them.
So this is a constant pattern with him. And I think that, in my opinion, I would suggest the board recommend our attorney to write him another letter that says if he doesn't pay his bill, we're going to recapture. If that's the threat we need to get our payment to the schools, I think that would be something to do. I guess open that discussion, Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could you just give me a little background on this ICC 4 West Main? I'm not all that familiar with it. Maybe it started before I was on the board, but a little background on them. What's the nature of the business, et cetera?
ICC 4 is in Cambridge. Part of it's the old Cambridge Hotel, if you ever remember that.
Okay, yep.
They took it over, they converted it into residential, assisted residential for seniors.
Okay, yep.
And the project's been out there. They did that and they got substantial grants from CDBG. Well, they weren't grants or loans. To the tune of 100, it was quite a bit of money. I don't remember what the money was. Brian, do you remember the amount that ICC 4 got from
I'm
CDBG?
going to say 1.2 million. Is that right?
It was way up there, but the story was they had to pay back part of that. Well, the
And then
federal,
it was all forgiven, right?
everything that was owed was forgiven. So they got $100,000 out of Washington County because it was going back to Washington County. So the problem is that they've had substantial assistance. We've given them plenty of time ever since we've been on board with them. They haven't paid their bills on time. And we're stuck in the middle because we're communicating with the town, Ally mostly, the school districts and counties, and the towns want to get paid. So I think we need to do this and keep on doing it. I don't see any other recourse. I can't see waiting for another 6-8 months before they pay their bills.
So is this a subsidized housing or
It's not subsidized at all.
not at all?
Was this a community development block grant that they got that money from? It's not subsidized. They probably take Medicare and Medicaid for payment. So there's probably people getting assistance, but not directly from the federal government. It's through the individual.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. Now I've got a better understanding.
So what's the thoughts of the board?
I think you should, just what you said, write them another letter. And if that doesn't do the trick, then whatever the next step is after that, legal proceedings, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the recapture policy requires us to give them an opportunity to be heard and come in and give their side of things. I think we've we've started this process before, and then they've made their payment
Sure.
by the deadline, but it's
Like pulling teeth.
a
to get it.
reoccurring.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Bill.
So just to confirm, we would put a deadline in the letter?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay.
October, well, how about just before our next meeting?
Okay.
The November 3rd meeting?
No, the November, you have to be a full board meeting to start recapture.
Okay.
Thank you,
We're gonna have
Mr.
a
Chairman.
new board meeting on the 3rd.
Does that give you time to get the letter out to them?
Yeah, I just need to know the total amount that's outstanding. Okay.
So November 3rd, sure.
You might go to the regular meeting just to give them time to pay it. If they're not very fast at paying, it might take them a minute to come up with it.
Our next full board meeting is November 15th. So yeah, I agree, Brian. Let's do it by
Sounds good. Make it,
November 12th.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Did someone make that in the form of a motion? Dan made a motion. Do I have a second? Brian? All in favor? Opposed? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Delineation update. On last Thursday, the meets and bounds request was sent over to Matt Steve for the deed descriptions. So they said they get it back to us in about a week to 10 days. We communicated with Mr. Connell about our schedule. He responded that he wanted to see it happen and get it put in place so we can look at potentially some of the areas we might want to do and fill, which is probably less than 2 acres, and do a swap on it. So that would be the next step after that, is get that in place. So that's the latest on delineation. Any questions on that? Okay. TDI update. As far as right now, it's all in the lawyer's hands. I actually talked to Joe Scott over the weekend. He was getting billable hours at the wedding we were both at, like talking about it. So he's waiting for TDI to get the attorneys to get the information back. Other than that, it's out of our hands until the lawyers get all their I's crossed and T's dotted. I did talk to Josh Pignato. He is looking to move that forward as quickly as possible. Any questions on TDI? Title insurance. Title insurance, Kara was going to get us a quote for 1 million.
I know, and I left it on my desk, so I asked somebody to scan it to me. So they're gonna do that, and then if we can
Okay.
go back to that.
We'll do.
Back for a second on that TDI, that project's been approved, got all their approvals or,
They've got all our approvals.
thank you.
Next item of business is reassignments for Nolan Propane. They have a holding corporation that they want instead of both by Nolan Propane. So we need a motion to reassign that to, what's the name of the company?
RMN Properties LLC.
I need a motion to approve that. Motion by Mr. Biddle. Do I have a second?
Second.
Jenny,
Yes.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The second reassignment is Boats by George. Boats by George needs a reassignment of the name to,
Prospect Mountain Venture LLC.
which is a subsidiary of Boats by George, but no, actually it's owned by George,
It's owned 100% by Boats by George.
by Boats by George. Okay, I just need a motion for that reassignment.
I'll make,
Second by Jenny. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 And there's one more to, their company, 879 Route 22 LLC. Their amended application, they are using the applicant as Flying Dutch Enterprises LLC. So
Okay.
if we can approve the
Okay.
assignment to them.
That's a project in White Creek. That's building cannabis facility. Must change the name to Flying Dutch. So that's another,
Enterprises.
and Flying Dutch Enterprises. No.
Flying.
So I need a motion to approve that. Dan Bruno, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mary. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I,
So I'm moving the order of GML. Instead of going solar first, I'll move GML up first. In the executive board meeting, I'd done some work and I stumbled across a change in our 852 general municipal law, policy and purposes of the article about what the mission of the IDA is. They had added in April 23rd that one of the policies of the state is to protect and promote the health of inhabitants of the state and to increase trade through promoting the development of facilities to further provide recreation for the citizens of the state and to attract tourists from other states and to promote the development of renewable energy projects to support the state's renewable energy goals as may be established or amended from time. So we've been around on the solar project for a while, but this actually includes solar, wind, hydropower, which may have a potential project come up for a hydropower facility that Mike's been working with. So they made it part of our mission. The question is, and this is brought up by receipt of information from AC Solar, who is doing a unique thing, is they are building proposed to build a solar facility in Queensbury on the Queensbury landfill. So slightly different application we've ever seen before, but that's interesting. So I guess the question is that what would the board feel about going back to supporting renewable energy as part of our policy and purposes set by the state? I know we shied away from this before, but a lot of this has been more about locations where it's at. But so I sort of bring it up for discussion, and what does the board think?
If I may start, Mr. Chairman. Some of the reason to shy away from doing the solar before was the town's take on solar as well. And we did not want to usurp their home rule powers of having or not having solar. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Okay. So, but now something through the state allows the IDAs to work with the renewable energy, including solar. So we do have a go-ahead and we can do it. It's within our own. Is there a way to mitigate our concern with the towns and their home rule?
Discussion about home rule is very deep in terms of that.
Yep.
And I'll let Kara explain what home rule means in the circumstance. I'm dumping it off on you. You're the legal expert.
I don't, what the municipality's positions
Right.
has been in the past.
Know about home rule. They say we can't. They override us with home rule, which is not, as I understand it.
No, because we're not an entity. We're not a part of the county. We're not of either county. We're not a part of a municipality. We're our own independent statutory body that was created by state law. In order to amend any of our rights, responsibilities, et cetera, we would need to go back to New York State and get an active state legislature to change any of those duties and rights that we have. So we're enabled to move forward under general municipal law with any of the rights that we have pursuant that are set forth in Article 18A. Sometimes it doesn't maybe come through that we're separate and distinct from the counties.
Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Leggett, I 100% am in favor of municipalities' home rule. This would not preclude the home rule because if a project didn't fit into the municipality's planning board, zoning and so on, we can't override that at all. That's the part where I find comfort in this. And in this verbiage, I'm actually comfortable with it from the standpoint that we will support it. Again, we can't override home rule and farm percentages and so on that maybe Johnsburg or somebody else has in place.
Right. If a municipality did not want or did not approve or wasn't able to be undertaken per a town's zoning regulations or otherwise, then we wouldn't be able to approve that project just because we want to support solar. If that were the case, we couldn't do that. Certainly no.
So I think there's safeguards in place to protect the municipalities who really don't want solar in their areas or specific areas. There is a second thing that is also there is that NYSERDA and the state have also usurped some of the siting areas and can override planning boards. So, and towns looking at, I don't like that issue. I think that people should be there, but NYSERDA could usurp and select a site, but that's only after giving the towns and the whatever the planning boards enough time to look at it. So, I mean, we have to be comfortable with it. I just found that the use of a planning board, the use of a landfill that's otherwise not being used for anything else would be a good use for this property.
So, Mr. Chairman,
You may.
A municipal landfill is not a taxed piece of property. Would a solar company come in for some sort of pilot on top of some base amount?
So the base amount is zero because it's not exempt. However, the improvements to the property could be a pilot.
You would probably have some sort of hybrid calculation. In other IDAs that approve solar projects, it's not based on a traditional construction project like we do for those types of projects, but it's based on a production formula that's carried out that way. So it's not really what's the value of this, factory that's going to be built on this property or the value of this solar equipment. It's really based on a formula of the production that the solar farm would generate.
Thank you.
Mike?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not opposed to the verbiage as it stands here. I just want us to think about, I don't want to preclude any natural gas or other projects, propane, to help our industries if it falls into the purview of the IDA.
Correct.
Okay, but that doesn't, I read most of this. I didn't see that anywhere in here.
You took that right from general municipal law, right?
This is right from
Yeah.
general municipal law.
Got that. Like I said, I don't oppose this verbiage. I just want to
You
make,
additional usage.
excuse you?
You want additional language to protect that.
To protect. The state has a dream to get into 100% renewable energy, but we still have to get from here to there, right? And with that, we need, thank you, Martin Luther King Jr., absolutely. But with that, we still need to encourage natural gas, propane, and other energy sources to fuel jobs here in this area and so on. So that's all I asked for.
So if the board agrees, what I would propose is we charge care would come up with a resolution for our next meeting
Mhm.
that incorporates that.
I'd love to hear the rest of the board, and if anybody has any questions or needs clarity on what I'm saying.
I agree 100%.
That makes sense to everyone? And given they're still going to go through the planning board process.
Yes.
Still got to go through all the approvals at the towns or municipalities. So we'll ask Carrie to get that ready for the next meeting.
If you need any help or clarity afterwards.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Lyon. Seafood.
Okay. Next on agenda, the New York State retirement came up, and we checked to see if Washington County was eligible for New York State retirement. They came back and said yes, they are. Then it came back and said, what's your roster? And you have that sheet in front of you.
I have it here.
You have it here?
It was in the materials, right?
Yeah.
This one?
That's the one I was looking for. Oh, I found it just as you gave it to me. New York State retirement, talks about the tiers, response to inquiry about participating in New York State retirement system. Employees who become a member of the system on or after July 1976 are required to accrue the percentage of wages. All paid personnel and employees, wages employed as of the date of participation in New York State retirement system as they become members. Eligibility applies whether they're full-time, part-time, or seasonal employees. It goes to anyone hired after the effective date, participation mandatory to join unless the position is temporary or provisional under civil service law. Employment is less than 30 hours a week or less than the standard number of hours. That's the way people can opt out. In other words, our part-time person is eligible to join the retirement system. Okay. Duration of employment. There's another voluntary defined contribution program, which we haven't inquired about, we talked about. So the retirement plans, I look at this, cost of participation is $14,940. That's based on just our signing up based on projected wages for this year. Cost is based on data provided by the agency and applicable billing rates for the New York State fiscal year. An invoice for this amount would be sent and is payable by the end of the agency's fiscal year in which participation becomes effective. Please note it was determined that an employee listed on the roster is collecting a pension from the New York State retirement system. The salaries of the employee is not used in the calculations. So our estimated annual cost, which is different because we have a deficiency primarily based on years worked by someone who was not part of the retirement system. So our total at this time projected is $16,000 a year with adjustments. And Brian can verify this. We have seen this as a percentage of the salary, total salaries range from what, 16% to what, 25%?
No, it should be between 9 and I'm going to say 18 at the moment. It's according to what tier they're in.
Okay, so it's by tier. I know when we were talking about before when Kevin was there, I think they were up to 18, 19%. Remember that those years?
We got quite high because you had the fire and police in there and everything, the higher rate. But I think we're around 15% right now on tier 4, and I think we're a little around 9 or a little more on tier 6 at the moment, I think. Okay, but my point is that that's not capped there. It could be more than that based on what their return rate of investment they're looking for the entire fund. It can go higher and it can go lower. Yep. It's a blank check. When you sign on, you pay whatever they tell you. Yep.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So just for clarity's sake, the New York State fiscal year is April 1 through March 31.
Correct.
And part two is the deficiency, the delta between April 1 and when Mr. Ostrander started?
There's nothing, I don't, no, because that's included in the annual participation of
Okay.
14,000, whatever it is. The deficiency is based on Al. Because she's got 2+ years of employment, not in the retirement system, so that.
Gotcha.
From her.
Okay,
That deficiency is paid through, I saw this in here someplace. Deficiency is paid over 25 years.
oh, that's right. The 1180 is over
25
25 years.
Deficiency we're looking for is, and I don't know how they figure it. I'm sure there's interest and everything else.
How much is that a year, Dave?
1180.
It's 1180 divided by 25?
No, it's
Time.
1180 a year for 25 years.
So
It's about 30.
1180 a year for, so get a lump sum payment, because you'll cut that in half.
And Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
So the estimated annual employer contribution is 14,940.
Mhm.
That is for this year, for this fiscal year?
Be paid by March.
Yes.
Okay, then with Mr. Ostrander starting not April 1, but July? June. Is it, I don't see how it could be the same price for next year.
I don't either.
Okay. Do you see where I'm going?
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Mr. Ostrander? Because we're comparing him on the payroll for 10 months this year. It would be 12 months next year. So I just would ask for some clarity there, and I'm very much for this. I just want to make sure we know what we're paying for.
Okay. So I will get a hold of the retirement
The-
system,
the-
find out the clarifications on those 2 items.
Yeah, Dave, get a lump sum payment on the arrears, because I think our towns was like 250,000 and we paid it up front for 150. So it's quite a savings.
Okay. Then I need to clarify what the proration is for the benefits for this year.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions on this?
So Dave, your yearly cost is gonna be whatever the rate is on the 1 tier 4 salary. Plus if Ally is, I assume is tier 6 if she hasn't belonged before, but I don't know that she hasn't. It would be that rate times her salary. You just add the two together.
Okay, well, we'll get the clarification, make sure.
That would give you your rate every year. That's how they're gonna figure it.
Craig?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So to put this into perspective, this is really getting the IDA set up as a real business, where we do have salary benefits, retirement for the employees. This is something the IDA obviously has never had before, and worked at that particular level. From the amount of activity that we have seen within the past 2 years, that's justified more time, an executive director, et cetera. And we are projecting forward that the IDA will continue to be a vital player in the local economy. That, to be a bona fide employer, this is an important move. That seems to be the take on it. Would you agree?
I think it's a positive move forward. I think that if we look back at I've been with the IDA for 11 years now. If you look back through there were a lot of skimpy years where we didn't make very many projects happen. And in a lot of years, we just simply broke even. So the question is that can we keep that up and move forward? So we are a organization showing the ability to pay for an executive director and pay for retirement and health benefits for all those organizations. Right now, it looks that way. And I'm confident to go that way, but I just want to make sure we understand that we have to keep on being proactive. We just can't rest on our laurels because this has been a damn good year. And while some of it hasn't come in this year, it's going to come in next year. But, you know, that has to be in there. And, you know, if we don't get the participation, we can't really go into deficit spending. So I just want to make that statement. So for future boards, you need to keep it up.
The pressure's on.
Pressure's on. Okay, I'm done. Bye, guys. Leave the pressure to you. No, just kidding. Any other questions? All right, we'll get that information for you for next meeting. Thank you. Mr. Biddle,
Sir,
we talked about scheduling on a finance committee meeting and you put a date out there, so we'll work on that.
we'll be sending out to the Audit and Finance Committee, we'll be sending out a meeting for next Monday, the 25th at 2 p.m. Ally, could you kindly send me over a Zoom? I barely can operate the Zoom with an address, so I certainly can't generate one.
Sure, you want me to send it to everybody, right? Not just-
Yes, for 2 to 3. If you could send a calendar invite for that day, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
And also within that, if you could include it's not a draft, but the draft budget for 2022 in the numbers from this year.
For drafting.
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ally, you're up. Member training.
Yes, a few days ago, I sent everyone an update on our compliances for sexual harassment, workplace prevention, sexual harassment,
Oh, Paris.
workplace violence prevention, and then the ABO certification. Anyone that is yellow on that grid has some expired that needs to be updated. Once it's been completed, if you could send that to me, that would be great. Thank you.
Miss Ally, was the grid in our paperwork or in the?
It was sent in an email.
Okay. Thank you.
So please get those completed.
I have a title quote. If you want to go back.
Title quote, yes, title quote.
So for a $1 million title insurance policy, the cost is about $4,000. It's actually $3,887, but I don't know what the surcharges charges will be because those aren't regulated by the state. So I would estimate around 4,000.
Annually?
No, one time, sorry. So the one-time payment and it'll be in effect for the length of time that the IDA owns the property.
And to be clear, this is the 80 acres in
Yes.
Fort Edward?
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm getting it. I'm just trying to prove I'm paying attention today. It never happens, right, Ally? So I wish y'all could have seen Ally's face on that one.
That's why
Thank
she
you for
pulled the
that.
mask up.
Yes. Thank you for that, Miss Kara.
You're welcome.
So do we need,
I need a motion to authorize the company go.
I'll move it.
Move by Mr. Grass.
there you go. Second.
Second by Mr. Bill. Any further discussion? All in
I
favor?
have a question on the title charges, Kara, if I could. I would anticipate, correct me if I'm wrong, that the search charges could be kind of extensive for that property. Are we a little light on those search charges?
It's already been searched, so I think that they will just search for the update. So I don't think we will be charged for what's already been done.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Thank you.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I just take a few minutes. I sent out, or New York State EDC sent out a couple very good articles. One was the impact of IDAs on New York State, the results. And I think a lot of things in there that I encourage you to read it. I think Ally's getting it posted on the website, so it's on the website. I sent you the link to it.
The link is on the website.
Link is on the website. So that's a very good report. If you don't have time to the whole thing.
That inflation could stay above 5% through December, and if that is the case.
So I would think about there from page 28 on is very, very good. But all the article is very, very good. It talks about the IDAs, the progress the IDAs made, what changes should look to make in the state or in the regulations. Also, how the IDAs should be proactive. And it talks about the things we should be doing. It should be strengthening our individual development and practices. First thing. The second thing is educate local challenges of economic development in New York State. And they are challenges that other states don't have, and it spells out the ones they see as very, very important. Communication around project economic development. They talk about the need to do that. We need to modernize. They need to modernize the statute to align with 21st century economic development mode. Here are the 4 areas they touched on, very important. Business retention and expansion. Not only should be concentrating on new businesses coming in or starting, be concentrating on business retention and expansion. Second is housing. They go through housing and say need to be looking at not only just one level housing, need to be looking at getting proper housing levels for all variety of affordability for income levels. Third is green energy. Again, what we talked about, solar, hydropower, wind, any other green renewable energy. And the 4th area is issues of inequity. They actually went into salaries. I don't know how far we can get into inequities in salaries, but they talked about different equities we need to be looking at and working towards. So one of the things they also talked about is they felt that IDA, Industrial Development Agency, as they're currently structured in most places, is not the best structure for the organization. They even went as far as saying you should review the title, the name, and the purpose of the organization, and may consider even changing the name from Industrial Development Agency to other places. They pointed out that there should be legislation that allows IDAs to do more loans and loan projects, grant projects, and things like that. So they really went in detail. It's a very, very good read. I want to encourage everyone to look at and read because I think they're very important. Along with that, there was a dashboard they sent out. Excuse me. What dashboard is, you go to any IDA in New York State and you can put in the title and it will tell you what projects are in place, how many jobs they created, what the impact had been on the local region. They're about 2 to 3 years back. I noticed a couple in the past 2 years that weren't on there in terms of the IDAs. But in terms of Washington County for the projects they highlighted, we created 481 jobs at an average salary of $51,900. So I encourage you to go to that dashboard, take a look at it and sort of investigate how we pay attention to other people, because I think this is a conversation that we need to start soon. Dan.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I looked at it. I think it's excellent material. I didn't read all of it, but it also plays into what we were talking about. You were addressing a few minutes ago. I think it lays out some areas or ways to enhance the IDA and to improve it going down the road, so that, as we just talked about with the retirement investment, for example, that we're expanding and improving the base of the IDA or whatever it ends up being called, and expanding it so that it's more viable.
One of their leads was that normal economic development is to be classified by jobs. And I think you've heard this from me in terms of when we're looking at our UTAP, is that economic development has changed. And to just use jobs as a standard is really not correct. And they're looking for all the IDAs to look at it in terms of changing their model and opening it up so that it's really doing true economic development.
If I might add, I think one of the points is very important. We tend to focus, I think, more on new business, attracting new business, but the part about expanding existing businesses deserves a lot of scrutiny and attention. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. I think Mr. Ostrander is doing a great job getting around our region for exactly that. Mr. Bruno and I are certainly on the same page. I think it's even more important to take care of our businesses that are already here, that have already been paying the taxes that allow for this latitude that the IDA affords. And of course, not ignoring new businesses coming in, don't get me wrong. But there certainly needs to be more attention set on existing businesses and expanding our base here. Number two is, I'm wondering if Mr. Ostrander might have, not now at all, sir, but might read through this and come up with some suggestions about things from the report that the IDA could do short-term and long-term to better our organization. Thank you.
What?
Leslie actually goes for the state.
She got the shot.
Couple of project updates, actually it's more than one. Both by George is closing 10/27. So after almost a year, we actually will be a year. We've been going through this one's going to close. Nolan Propane is going to schedule.
She got the shot. Oh, all right. I'm on the web.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Grasso. Mikey.
Yes.
Hi, we can hear
Yeah.
what you're saying, brother.
Okay.
So Nolan Propane is scheduling next week. I think we're targeting somewhere on the 28th to close, so that property gone too. We have actually 4 interested parties in the dewatering facility at this point. I'm not at liberty to discuss any of them in open session, but they are very, very exciting possibilities. 2 of them are very, very exciting. We'll see what happens. I just got notice that one wants to start moving forward today, and we are number 2 on their list, with one being a site they're already developing. So we hope this comes true, and there'll be a lot of work ahead of us. So thank you. Any other questions? All right, I'll adjourn this meeting and I will open the CDC meeting. In the CDC meeting, do we have minutes, Sally?
There's a Brian Campbell looking for attention.
Brian?
Hey, Dave, before you close the other meeting, I wanted to say that I don't mind reinventing or repurposing the IDA if it's for concrete forward movement that is total economic development. But if it's done in a way just to prove our existence, I wouldn't be very happy. And I think that's the way a lot of residents would feel. So I just wanted to voice that. I mean, all these things are good if it's all for all the right purposes and we have the right results. But if it slips back to being non-existent, it was a waste of money.
Thanks for the point. So I open the CDC meeting. Attendance, please, because we dropped a couple.
Craig Wyatt,
Here.
Michael Biddle,
Yes, ma'am.
Brian Campbell,
Yes.
Mike Wild,
Yes.
Jenny Sullivan.
Yeah.
Mike Grasso,
Drop.
Pam Bruno,
Here.
Mary King,
Here.
Steve O'Brien.
Here. Okay, I think I need a motion to accept the meetings from the last meeting.
So moved.
First by Brian, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Jenny. Any omissions, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The only other item of business I know of is that we need a motion to pay an $80 bill for FMBF. Moved by,
So
yeah,
moved.
raises it, interest. Motion by Mr. Biddle, second by
Me.
Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any other business come before the committee? Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
You.
Thank you. See y'all.
Make a mess of my area.
Yeah, well, that,
Thanks, Ally.
not only is it